Alright, we're gonna get started. Nobody's chatting, so I'm hoping you guys are here. But yeah, if there's any problems with the audio, let me know, or the video. It seems okay on my end. So, we don't have many questions this time. So if anybody wants to ask questions after I get through the stuff that was on the Google form, then we'll probably have plenty of time for that. Because I'm refreshing it, and I think we only have, 10 that were asked compared to last time, which was like nearing 30 or something like that. So, let's see here. Okay. The first question was, could you recommend a vape pen or pens which can handle thick CBD juice? And I haven't tried a ton of pens or regular vapes in general, just because the one I tried just kind of worked. But I will say what I've used, and it is the Subbox Mini C from Kangertech. It is a sub-ohm vape, which means it generally uses sub-ohm, so below 1 ohm coils. I don't actually use those. I use a 1.2 ohm coil in it, so I don't do sub-ohm vaping in it. And it seems to handle the thicker juices, and by thick I usually mean VG based, and for me that was the Four Corners cannabis juice. No clogging, no issues, it just worked. Okay, so that is one I would recommend. When you're looking for a vape that can handle thick juices, what you really want to see is if it's got an adjustable, what do I want to call it? An adjustable like juice, like flow kind of adjuster. Like mine has different size holes over a shroud that covers the coil, and I can turn it to reveal bigger or smaller holes. You want to make sure that the holes are going to be relatively big enough so that the juice can actually flow through it. Surprisingly, with like the Four Corners cannabis juice I have, which is VG only, it looks like snot. It's disgusting, and it's thick, but it works. They've said that even the cheap pens, actual pens instead of like a box vape, work relatively well with it. So you don't need to be too careful about what liquid or what vape to use with the liquid. It just kind of will come down to personal preference. Okay, next response. Hey Sarah. What is the difference between hemp and CBD, and is industrial hemp natural or synthetic? Okay, so first for the hemp versus CBD. CBD is a constituent of hemp, and what that means is here, at least in the US, we are categorizing cannabis plants as two different things, two different varieties as the main varieties, and it's either cannabis that is hemp or it's cannabis that is marijuana. The only difference that we legally, differentiate between them is the THC content. Hemp always has less than 0.3%. That's the only difference. So when you say what is the difference between hemp and CBD, it's just that CBD is a constituent of hemp. Hemp produces CBD. Same with marijuana produces CBD. So it's not really like they're two different things. It's just that CBD is produced from the hemp. And is industrial hemp natural or synthetic? Natural, I mean, you grow industrial hemp. You can have synthetic CBD. It can be, identical, the molecule, but it's man-made. And this is not to be confused with what we say synthetics as in synthetic cannabinoids or synthetic, how do I explain this? It's not the synthetic CBD where it's actually CBD. It's really CBD. It's the same thing, but it's been man-made. Is different from the stuff that people are taking that are designer drugs, spice or K2 or whatever it's called, that are hidden in other CBD products that will get you high and are very dangerous. There's a difference between that and just man-made CBD. I'm not recommending that you get man-made CBD, even though technically it's supposed to be identical. I just don't see the point. I've only come across a few brands that have advertised that, to be honest. So I wouldn't really worry that what you're getting is synthetic. It just doesn't, it's not very cost effective generally to do. Hi, Nancy. So yeah, but if you're actually having industrial hemp, like the plant, it's going to be natural, you know. A synthetic plant, the actual plant is not going to be synthetic. Okay, next question. Ooh, can move my camera. Okay. I did ask if people could refrain from medical questions, but I realized I did not post that on the event page. I just posted it on my announcement of the event. So sorry about that. Normally I have it on both. But this question is about what's the best type and dosage on average for a type 2 diabetic. I can't really help with that. What I can suggest you do is go to someplace like projectcbd.com, go to their conditions page and find if there is a link for diabetes, and they will have research studies if they have that as an actual section over that condition, what they've done the research on with CBD in that condition. So that's what I would recommend you do. As far as that, especially dosages, you could see what they dosed in the studies and see what the results were. I will warn you that in a lot of the studies, the dosages that I've seen them do for all conditions I've seen has been quite high, higher than most people will ever consume outside of studies, which is something that's interesting. I don't know why they started so high, because a lot of them they don't even have, you know, other parts of the study where they do lower dosages. It seems to be very high, like minimum 100 milligrams a day, which I know some of our members do take that much a day, but most people do not. Okay, next question. Bluebird Classic is on the way. How many drops should I start with? Would like to take before sleep for anxiety. Trying to get off all synthetic drugs for anxiety/depression. Okay, so Bluebird Classic is their base product. It's just hemp extract, so CBD, with, I believe, hemp seed oil, or is it olive oil? Either way, it's just the carrier and the extract, if I remember correctly. For how many drops you should start with, I don't know which. I'm assuming you either got the base or the 6 times, so concentrated. I don't know. So I can't tell you exactly how many drops, but I will tell you how to figure out how many drops. On our website, we do have a dosage calculator, which can help you figure out how many milligrams per drop. But what I would do is start at around 5 milligrams a day, but split between a morning and evening dose. That's generally ideal. And then in maybe 5 days to a week, increase it by 5 to 10 milligrams a day. Then in a week after that, increase by another 5 to 10 milligrams. I always recommend people start low and then build up. It's just, if you start too high, maybe it's just too high for you and it won't work and you're wasting money by taking too much. And if it does work, maybe it just, you have some less than fun reactions to it. I don't mean that in like super bad. The reactions won't be super bad. I've only seen that like very rarely, and it's because people took like the entire bottle's worth. But it's just, you want to build up. You don't want to just throw something at your body. So build up to it. So what you can do to figure out exactly how many milligrams per drop to know how much to take for that 5 milligrams per day is on our website, on the dosage calculator. You go through and you put, you know, how many milliliters the volume of the bottle was. You put how much CBD in milligrams is in the entire bottle. Then you put how many drops equals 1 milliliter for your bottle. To do this, sometimes the bottles will say, but usually if they say, it's wrong. So, for example, my CB Distillery said it was a certain amount, and it turned out it was way more to equal 1 milliliter. So what I would do is actually take your dropper and count how many drops it takes to get to that 1 milliliter. Just do it and average it out, and then that'll give you the best idea. So you put all that information in, including how much you want your dosage to be, so it would be the 5 milligrams, and you hit, you know, It'll automatically calculate exactly how many drops that would be. It'll also calculate how many milliliters that would be. Because I don't use a dropper. I use a little oral syringe. So I use the milliliter oral syringe. Let's see here. What Bluebird product is best for anxiety? Okay, for this one, I'm going to pull up the Bluebird lab test, and we're going to look at the terpenes, because I feel like that's where a lot of people will figure out exactly which to maybe go with to start with. So I'm going to go to the concentrated ones, because, let's see. Okay, classic, signature, oops, and complete. Test results for the classic. Where is the newest one? There it is. Why is November after or before October? Why did they upload them in a different? Oh, there it is. Okay. I was looking at the wrong one. So we've got classic. Now we'll have the signature and the complete. So for anxiety, I'm just going to open up the terpene ones. If I can get these by each other. Why is this showing 228, 218, 227? Okay, that was weird. For some reason, maybe the link is wrong. When I opened it, it was showing me the wrong. No. No, now it's working. Okay. So, it looks like, and of course it does not actually label the, why do you do this, Bluebird? Okay, the signature is 218. Does it actually list it? 218. Okay, this is their signature. So signature for the recent batch on terpenes, which is what we're looking at, is high in pinene. It is high in thymine and, let me correct that. It's high in alpha pinene. It's high in thymine, and then it's a little high in beta pinene. And we're gonna go to our nifty terpene chart. And we will read off what those are good for. Okay, so pinene says that it is good for inflammation and asthma. Okay, this doesn't have thymine on it. Thymine's a little lesser known, so I'm actually not kind of surprised. I might not be pronouncing that correctly, but I think if I remember correctly, Charlotte's Web was kind of high in thymine too, which is interesting. There it is. Haha, found it. Okay. It benefits as an antimicrobial. That's interesting. And antifungal. Okay, so I would say, oh, and it's high in, where'd it go? There it is. It has a little bit of, how do you say that? Ocimene? It has a little bit of ocimene and a tiny bit of carophyllene compared to the pinene, at least. It's really high in pinene. So for the signature, I would say that the signature would be better for inflammatory conditions because of the significant amount of pinene. That's not to say it won't work for anxiety. It's just one of those things that they're a little bit better terpenes for anxiety. And I know there are a lot of people in our group that take it and they find it helps with their anxiety. So let's move off from the signature and let's look at the complete. That's 228. Where did it go? Here it is. Here we go. The complete is lower in pinene, but really high in myrcene, and limonene, and a little bit of caryophyllene. So it has some anti-inflammatory effects, which is the caryophyllene and a little bit of the myrcene. But myrcene is really, I don't want to say sedating, but it's really good for pain relieving and just relaxing. And but it's like counteracted a little bit by the limonene, and limonene is kind of uplifting and energizing. Let's see what else it has. Does it have linalool? It has a little bit of linalool, which is good for anxiety as well. This one is kind of got tons of terpenes, actually. I'm kind of surprised. Are all their batches like this? Wow. Has some humulene too. Okay, so that one's, so far I would say go for the complete for anxiety instead of the signature. Based on terpenes. We haven't even looked at the cannabinoids yet. I know they all have CBD, high in CBD, but we also want to see if they have any other smaller, minor cannabinoids into them. Where did it go? Okay, and this one's the classic. 227. Yeah, 227 is the classic. Okay, the classic only has two, caryophyllene and humulene. So I would say that one's basically just for maybe more chronic pain conditions. So definitely my pick, if I were choosing this, not a medical advice, I would go for the complete. Let me double check that I said that correctly. The complete is the one that is 228. Yes, I would go for the complete. Where do you find all this info? On Bluebird's website. If you go to the actual product, it'll have a tab that says test results under the product page. You click that, and then you can click the newest batch. It's the first link to for complete. It's batch 0228 for the complete 6 times. I'm looking at the 6 times. And then you can go, and it has the test results. It has potency and purity, residual solvents, microbes, and terpenes. And I'm looking at the terpenes one. Let's look at the complete potency, so the cannabinoids. And it's very broad. It does have quite a bit, which is great. It has not the highest THC I've seen of any, which is good for anxiety. High in the CBD, which is what we would expect. Has a little bit of CBG, CBC, and CBN. It's just broad. It's very good. I would do the complete, not the signature or the classic. So, yeah, hopefully that helps for the Bluebird for that question. Okay, I only have like 5 more of these left, maybe. So I'll get to the live chat questions really quick. Let's see here. I have a medical cannabis tincture. The name is Professor Nuke's Canna Salvation ACDC, and I'm wondering, do you take this under your tongue? It tastes like straight alcohol and burns, so it makes it hard to keep it under your tongue, and wanted to make sure we are taking it correctly. Well, I've never heard of that, so I'm going to look it up and see if I can find the ingredients, because if it burns and it tastes like alcohol, that tells me it's alcohol-based, not, and it is a tincture, it's not an oil, because tinctures versus oils, there are differences. So what is it? Professor Snooks? I know what ACDC is. I mean, that's a strain. High CBD strain. Oh, there it is. Olive oil. It shouldn't burn if it's just olive oil. Do they come in different bases? Because it says olive oil base specifically. Like there's different versions. Let's see if I can read more about this. It looks like they don't have a website. Here's another one. Let's see here. I don't know, cause it's the first one that popped up said it's olive oil based. If it's a real sublingual oil, it should be placed under your tongue. It shouldn't burn. If it burns and tastes like alcohol, that tells me it's alcohol-based. And alcohol-based, that's the problem with them, and that's why you don't find many. It burns when you put it under your tongue, and is generally not pleasant to take. Some people with the alcohol-based, those are really common. People drop them in some water and then they drink it, which kind of defeats the purpose of the sublingual use. because the bioavailability is higher when you take it sublingually versus just swallowing it. Yeah, this one says olive oil too. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It shouldn't burn. It shouldn't taste like alcohol. It should just, if it tastes like alcohol, maybe they didn't properly extract the extract that they infused the product with. Maybe it has residual solvents that are not good for you. Be wary of that. You need to see if they have lab tests for that. That would be the first thing I would check. In addition to checking to see if there are other versions of it, like the olive oil versus maybe an alcohol-based one. I guess, I don't want to say in the meantime, because if I had that experience, I probably would stop taking it just until I know. In the meantime, I guess if you wanted to, you could drop it in water and see if you're getting the same effects, and if not, you might just need to increase it because the bioavailability is lower. It's worth a shot, I guess. Oh, okay. Can you tell me what strength of CBD oil to take, and how does the oil compare to vaping? I cannot tell you the strength of CBD oil to take because I don't know what you're taking it for, and I can't really help with that. But I can tell you how does oil compare to vaping. It has to do with kind of your needs, right? So there are bioavailabilities between all these methods. So sublingual oils, where you drop it under your tongue, is generally in the 25 to 30% bioavailability range. And vaping is actually not that much higher, I've learned. I thought it was super high, and I guess it is one of the higher ones, but it's only in like the 30 to 40% range. So it is higher, but not as much as I was expecting. Some other differences are vaping works immediately. So you vape, and if there's anything that happens, it would happen immediately. Vaping doesn't last as long as sublingual oils, so maybe you vape and it only lasts like 3 hours versus sublingual oil where it lasts 4 to 6 hours. For me, honestly, vaping has lasted, like I've had it where I vaped and it maybe worked for 15 minutes. It just depends. So vaping is really good for conditions where you need immediate results, right? So you need, you have an anxiety attack or panic attack, and you need it right then. Or you have migraines and you need to abort that migraine. You can't wait, for the 1 to 2 hours for a sublingual oil to fully kick in. You can't. Like, it's just, they're different. Hitting things. For what strength of CBD oil to take, it's just really up to you. Like I said, I recommend everybody starts around really low, 5 to 10 milligrams a day. After a week or so, increase it by 5 to 10 milligrams, and you keep building up until you figure out where you kind of sit and what works for you. Okay, I've heard that some CBD/hemp is grown using pesticides from mold, and that is horrible for me as I have Lyme disease and mold problems. How do I know which brands have not been grown with mold pesticides? I actually haven't heard that. I'll have to look into that. That's interesting if it's true. A lot of the brands that we recommend, that I would even if it's not a brand I put on the list, because there are so many brands out there, our list is not all inclusive, right? There are brands that are still good that are not on our list that I just haven't found or haven't gotten to, or have some random reason why it's not on there. It should have a lab report that lists if it's been tested for mold, if it's been tested for pesticides. You need to see what that report says. If there's any residual mold, I guess that would tell you right there. So how do you know? Lab tests. You could also question them like directly and say, hey, what do you use? You want a brand that is ideally going to be upfront and, tell you about it. There are some times where they won't tell you because of maybe some trade secret or something really dumb like that, but lab tests are going to be one of the best ways. Okay. Can you explain microdosing in detail? I understand increasing by 1 drop every 45 minutes until you find your sweet spot, but then how do you proceed from there? How many times per day do you take that sweet spot dose? I don't personally microdose because it's a lot of work, to be honest, for me, and I am at work, like half my day, so I can't do that, and it just doesn't work for me. So I'm actually not the best person to ask for that. But when you know, as far as personal appearance, because I don't do it, but I know how to do it. But when you get to your sweet spot, that should last you a while, right? So what you're not some people don't microdose the entire day. They microdose for like half the day sometimes. And that means you find your sweet spot maybe middle of the day and you should just sit there. But if you're trying to find that sweet spot and you notice it starts dropping off again, you know it worked, right? But it starts dropping off again an hour or two later, take up a little bit. Like, take a little bit more. So microdosing for some people is something where they find it and then they just it's like a half a day thing and they can stop. But it is for some people an entire day thing. Microdosing the entire day, you don't stop. But it just depends. And maybe you microdose to find what you need to take in the start. Maybe you microdose for like the first week and you learn each day what works for you and what you get to give you the effects you want. And then the next week you just start taking that right off the bat in the morning. Okay. And that is all the questions, I think. So we can move to live chat, and I've seen people have been asking me some questions. Let's see. Again, I can't really answer medical questions. So some of these I can't answer. But do you think CBD oil would help me with my tremors and maybe let me walk again? If you search our group, we have had members that have had relief from things such as tremors. I can't speak for that personally, but I've seen it happen for others. Now, let's see. Hold on, this one's a little long. Let me read. Oh, just a success story? That's great. It's great to hear, Judy. Where do you find all this info? I'm assuming that was the Bluebird thing, which I already answered. What can help with lack of balance? I don't have vertigo, just imbalance where I have to hold on to things in order to walk. That's interesting. I haven't looked into any terpenes that would help with that kind of thing. Let's do a quick Google search and see what comes up. Balance disorders. I don't know what to call that though, because you think vertigo. Obviously, you say you don't have that, but that's what you think when. And we know what to search for vertigo for cannabis terpenes, but I'm gonna table that one, and we'll come back to it. I have Lazarus Naturals new high potency isolate / MCT tincture, and I want to add terpenes to it. If I buy non-diluted terpenes and add a few drops to the Lazarus Naturals bottle, will that work? Do I have to heat it or just shake / stir it? Okay, so you have the isolate, right? I was like, for some reason when I read high potency, I thought you had the regular, and I was like, you already have terpenes, ma'am? But no, you can do that. You can. If you have an isolate and you want to add non-diluted terpenes to it, it can work. Yeah, sure. Start low. You know, you can always add, but you can't take away. So you don't have to heat it with the terpenes. They're both liquids. Just shake it. It should be fine. You might notice it changes the taste a little bit because terpenes are largely what gives our products their taste in general. What are my feelings about gel caps? I have mixed feelings about capsules in general and oral dosing. Oral, which means when you swallow it, not just when you put it in your mouth, but when you actually swallow a product, has a super low bioavailability. It's like 5%. It's barely anything, which I'm torn because, you know, we have people posting that they have those like Green Roads frogs and they love them, and the gummies and they love them and they just really work. But on paper, it just doesn't work out to be the most beneficial method. Or at least the most bioavailable and effective and cost-effective method. That's a big one, cost-effectiveness. So I'm torn because when you take a capsule, right, it goes through your digestive system and your digestive tract before it gets to your liver, and then it's metabolized, and then it goes into your bloodstream, right? So you're losing CBD in the process, and it takes longer to kick in. If it does kick in, assuming you took enough because of the bioavailability to counteract that, it usually lasts longer than a lot of the other methods because of just the way it's absorbed. But sublingual, you know, instead of the bioavailability of capsules being in the 5% range, sublingual is in the 25 to 30% range. And it goes immediately into your bloodstream. So it has some advantages because it misses first pass of the liver, it kicks in much faster, and it's generally more cost effective. And the first pass of the liver is kind of a big one, right? So what that means is, I guess I should explain, with CBD and like drug interactions, there is a group of enzymes called the P450 group of enzymes that a lot of medications have issues with. And it's a lot of medications you'll notice say do not take this with grapefruit. That's a huge indicator that it has some interaction with that group. And CBD does as well. So what generally we see with CBD is it makes the medication you took last longer in your body than it's normally intended to at higher concentrations that it's intended to. That's not something to be super scared of. It just means you might have to play with your dosing, right? For me, I haven't noticed any issues. I do take a medication daily for my heart that interacts with the group, has the grapefruit warning, and it just works for me. I haven't noticed any issues. So with the first pass being skipping the first pass, that can give you more time, and it just might be better for you to have sublingual use. So for gel capsules, it's something I don't do, but a lot of people do use, because they're convenient, you know, it's preset dose. But what you can also do, I've noticed a lot of people, is they buy the gel capsules with the liquid in it, and then they break the capsule open and put that under the tongue, because maybe it's like a product you know you really love, but it only comes in a capsule version, in a liquid capsule, and they do that. Or maybe they'll dose it out in capsules to keep in their purse, and then they have one tiny dose that they can break open. Okay. Wondering which is best for sleep is if the Bluebird Complete is high in myrcene and pinene, would the pinene cancel out its sedating effects? Let me pull up the Complete one more time. Yeah, there it is. I take it, and at first it seemed really good for sleep, and after a couple months it doesn't seem to be as good for sleep. Let's see here. Yeah, myrcene is supposed to be good for sleep. It's actually not super high in pinene compared to the other ones. But it is higher in limonene, so I think that's what you would be more concerned about. But it does have a lot of myrcene in there, a lot. For sleep, I really do look for things like linalool, though. Linalool and myrcene and caryophyllene. I like those three. And maybe some, actually, yeah, I'll just say those two. Or humulene. Humulene, I kind of like humulene too. Which Complete has, but it's not as high as I would like for the linalool type things to be. So I noticed that their classic is really high in caryophyllene, compared to, why is this so, their thing is weird. How much is the size of this in grams? Weird. That's odd. Anyways, the classic has just caryophyllene and humulene, so maybe that one. But when you're looking at oils, I would look for those things. The myrcene, linalool, humulene, caryophyllene kind of mix. You want to try to stay away from things like limonene and pinene, I find. With the exception of some products. For example, the Four Corners Cannabis is high in limonene. I haven't had any issues, though, when I did take it with sleep. It didn't cause me to stay awake. CB Distillery is very uplifting without being anxiety inducing. So it kind of just depends. How long before liquid gold will take to kick in for anxiety? Are you taking Diamond CBD liquid gold, like which liquid gold, because liquid gold indicates to me it's a diamond product, which you should not be taking. They contain synthetics. They're super bad for you. I would highly recommend not taking that. I'm new to CBD oil and I took my first dropper last night, but so not sure how much to take. Any suggestions? Like I said, start low, 5-ish milligrams a day, slowly increase that over a few weeks, 5 to 10 milligrams every single week. Just keep increasing until you find. I find for me, if I get up to 50 milligrams with no real positive impact, there's no point going higher. That's just for me. I've seen people take 80 to 100 milligrams per day, but it turns out that it's not cost effective anymore for me to take beyond that, and I need to try something different. That's only happened with like one product though. Let's see. I'm doing sample packs. I started with Bluebird Classic in the morning and Complete at night. I just got CBD Distillery sample pack with the 250 milligram and a 15 milliliter bottle. Going to keep using the Complete at night, but want to try the CBD Distillery during the day. Do I need to take a break before starting CBD Distillery? Do I need to start back at one drop? Sorry, I can't speak today. I have like stuff in my throat from allergies. Yeah, CBD Distillery I found really good for energy without making me like unable to sleep at night. I was able to take it at night, but it's very clean, very uplifting, very just, you feel good. Like it just gives you feeling normal and energized. I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to take a break before starting the CBD Distillery if you're going to take them together. You could take a break if you really wanted to see just how the CBD Distillery affected you without any of the Bluebird in your system, but I don't think it's necessary. For the CBD Distillery, I would start the CBD Distillery at the small dosage I was talking about. I would not take the same amount you've been taking of the Classic in the morning. I would start low. You can keep the Complete at night, the same amount that you've been taking, but build up the CBD Distillery. Is there one higher in Humulene? Yeah, so the Classic seems to focus on Humulene and Caryophyllene. There was one I saw that was really high in Humulene. 1 second. What was it high in? Oh, I remember what I did. Okay, I recently found out what the terpenes are for the Serendipity stuff that CBD Distillery uses. I don't know if it's their oil, but they taste identical to me, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of the terpenes are the same. Let me see if I can find it. I think I saved it on my phone. And I could have sworn it had a really interesting mix of terpenes. Let's see. Maybe. I need to get better at organizing my screenshots, man. Oh, it's not there. And it is not there as well. I might not be able to find it. I sent it to Brian. Where is it? Can I not find it? Let's see here. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Had a little Humulene, but yeah, it's pinene and limonene. It wouldn't be good for sleep, or like as a focus for sleep, but it's really high in myrcene. I can't remember which one I found that was high in Humulene. However, if you really want one that you just want to focus on it for what the heck was I saying? For sleep. Words. Places like a hemptation where they will customize the terpene blend for you would possibly be a good option for that kind of thing. You can find one that's high in the other terpenes, or buying an isolate product, like the Lazarus flavorless. They call it flavorless, they don't call it isolate. They're flavorless product that doesn't have terpenes, and then adding a strain of terpenes, a blend inspired by a strain that is good for sleep, might be a really good thing for that. Where was I? Here it is. How many drops in a milliliter? It depends. You will always hear people automatically post something that's like, 1 milliliter is 20 drops. That is a lie half the time, I will tell you. My CB Distillery bottle is like 50 or 60 drops, it varies. My Hemp Direct is like 45 drops. My Charlotte's Web is the closest one I've had to 20 drops. It depends on the oil and it depends on the dropper. So what I would recommend you do is you count the drops to equal a milliliter. Don't just guess. Don't just go by what other people are saying, because it varies greatly. And you could be like 5 drops off and have like a 20 milligram difference if you're not intending to. Because my CB Distillery was like 8 milligrams per drop or something crazy high, and that can, you know, be a couple drops off on that, and you've got like, you're wasting like 15 to 20 milligrams. Is there a dosage slash product that would work well for epilepsy? I have partial complex seizures. Again, I can't really help with medical conditions. However, I can say what I have heard. And there are some products that have been developed specifically with that in mind. Some of the ones I know of are, I think, Jaden's juice. I know especially Charlotte's Web, very famous strain, very famous oil, made specifically for, you know, epilepsy, specifically for children especially, and Haley's Hope. Those are 3 big ones. I can't really recommend dosages for that. As always, you know, start low and slow and build up kind of thing is all I can really say. It seems like everybody, you know, those 2 questions, you know, you need something for energy, you need something for depression. You really want the terpenes. Generally, you want something that's a little bit higher in limonene, I find. Limonene and, where did it go? There it is. Limonene and maybe the pinene, kind of things like that. They're kind of a little bit more uplifting. I really liked CB Distillery and Four Corners Cannabis for energizing. And then I also really liked, for me, for when I wanted more energy, I also really liked Temptations Durban Poison. Really energizing. I will say this, Durban Poison was one I could not take at night. It would give me insomnia. So really, guys, when you're looking at something you want for symptom relief, all these products are going to be generally pretty high. You know, I mean, they're high in CBD, and that's what we think is doing most of the effect, which is good. But we have something called the entourage effect, where other small things are boosting the CBD and having their own little effects. And that's usually the terpenes and some of the minor cannabinoids. But really terpenes are huge for me. What makes a strain unique, really unique, like indica versus sativa, has a lot to do with terpenes, way more than anything else. So when you're finding a product that you want for a specific symptom, maybe energy or sleep or anxiety or inflammation, look at the terpenes and see if that has terpenes that are really good. I do not want something high in limonene, really high in limonene, if I want it to make me sleepy or help me relax and go to sleep. I would prefer something in like linalool with maybe some myrcene. Limonene would be kind of the opposite of what I want. So yeah, that's, you know, just really important to look at terpenes. You do want to look at cannabinoids a little bit. For the sleep, I would want something that has a little bit of CBN in it. It will not have significant amounts when it's hemp products. It just can't, because CBN comes from THC, and we know hemp cannot have significant amounts of THC. So, by extension, we can't have significant amounts of CBN. But a little bit would be nice. Will the 0.3% THC cause an adverse effect on someone with bipolar? Okay, so I've read that there are certain people who, there are studies that show that people with those conditions might not want THC, but it seems to be that, I don't want to give incorrect info, but it seems to be that it doesn't, from what we've seen in the group, that this small amount in hemp, the less than 0.3% THC, is not enough for adverse effects, for most people who have any type of adverse effect to THC. And so, I can't say yes or no, but based on what we see in the group, that's what, you know, what you can kind of see how other people are having no problems with it. Which product do you like for anxiety and sleep? Believe it or not, right now, I have a job, like an actual job, instead of just my like at-home job now. So I did get drug tested, and so I've been using Myaderm, which is the Isolate Transdermal Cream, and normally I don't like Isolate products at all, at least sublingually. I think they don't work quite as well for me. But man, I don't know what it is that you guys put in that stuff, Myaderm, but it works for me. I can rub it on my chest. It's transdermal. It's not a topical. Transdermal, so you put it and it goes through your skin into your bloodstream, so it does have the ability to give a more full body impact. It just, whenever I have like a flare up of my heart condition, which I get like PVCs and palps, I can put that stuff on and I will like be able to sleep and knock out, and it will stop it. I don't know why it works so well compared to other Isolate products. Probably because transdermal creams have a super high bioavailability. It's like in the 70% range. It's higher than anything else. It's probably around there with suppositories. It's just very high. So it's probably it's getting enough compared to sublingual Isolate. Maybe I wasn't able to reach how much I would need to take sublingually to get the same effect, but it works. So that's what I've been using. Whenever I can't sleep or I'm really having issues with anxiety, I rub some on my chest and the back of my neck. I will say that Charlotte's Web, yeah, when I was taking Charlotte's Web, it did seem to work for anxiety as well. Whenever my anxiety would get up there, I would really kind of take a few drops under my tongue, and then within like 30 to 45 minutes, I would be feeling better. So, how much Myaderm do you use? I use the Pro version, so I use 1 or 2 pumps of the Pro. Usually like 1 pump here and 1 pump on the back of my neck. Would CBD help with pandas? I know that's stands for pediatric something, but I don't know. I don't know if that's CBD. If Project CBD has a section for that. You could see maybe if there's any studies on it, if it's helped that condition. Looks like that's all the questions so far. Oh, I just dropped something. Any other questions? Wow, it's already been an hour. Make sure I didn't miss any questions. I don't think I missed any. Do I have a website or blog? We do have a website. It's cbdoilusers.com. The link can be found in the pinned post. These are not currently posted on there, but the videos, if you go to the file section of the group, you will find links for all the videos. It'll have a Facebook link, so you can watch it on Facebook with the live chat. It has like a log of what people have said throughout the stream. Or it has a YouTube link next to it, so you can watch it on YouTube if you don't want to watch it on Facebook. The same will happen with this stream. It will be on YouTube and Facebook. Oh, and we are going to have, or I am going to run the YouTube page. I do have videos planned, like actual videos. I'll have reviews in video format as well as the reviews on the website. I'll have videos about full spectrum versus isolate, all those videos. I have my nifty booklet right here with all my ideas and my plans in it. I started a new job, so I've been really kind of settling in and haven't gotten to it yet. But we will have videos, actual videos posted. Do you have a chart of specific brands to avoid? We do in the pinned post. I don't think we have one in the files section yet. I thought we had one, but I can't remember now. We do have a small list in the pinned post. It's right under the brands we recommend, and it says brands to avoid, and it lists all those and general reasons of why. How does OTC CBD differ from medical marijuana CBD? So in the US, the stuff I've seen, there's no real legal difference, except for like paying to have your stuff considered medical marijuana. So there might not be a difference for some of these things, but generally medical stuff, you might not find just medical CBD in some of the states. A lot of this medical stuff is higher THC, but I will say CBD is CBD. Marijuana can have a broader range of cannabinoids, generally, and terpenes, just because of the way it's harvested and the way it's grown. It has longer time to develop. It's just kind of how things are. But the actual CBD, the molecule, they're identical. The CBD is no different, whether it comes from hemp, the stuff you can buy in the store, like at your local smoke shop or something, as long as it's real CBD and it's not like spice or bad stuff. The CBD is CBD. So that's really the only difference, is medical stuff can have higher THC and a broader range of cannabinoids just because of the way it's harvested and grown and how it can, develop. I want to say maybe some states have put in guidelines. I'm not in a medical state or anything like that. I don't use marijuana products. I just use hemp. But there are some that like require certain qualifications. Like they have to be lab tested. They have to follow certain harvesting methods. That might be something to look into too. What do you recommend would be the best way to find your sweet spot with drops under the tongue? Like I said, I don't do microdosing. I just do the building up process of a few weeks. I think that's the best way for me. I just, I start around 5 milligrams a day. In a week, I increase by 5 to 10 milligrams a day. Split between 2 doses, so morning and evening dose. And that's just what works for me. You will generally know when it starts to work. You'll just get to a point where you don't start seeing any more improvements, or maybe the effects go down again and you need to like back off, and you'll find kind of where you sit. Let's see. Why some days I use the same doses of CBD every day, yet doesn't take away the anxiety, and days I have zero anxiety? I'll put it like this. For me, I have migraines, right? And I don't know if it's the same way with anxiety. I have anxiety, but I'm not, medicated for it or anything. It can get pretty bad, but it's nothing I want to compare to anybody else's, because obviously I'm doing okay with it. But for my migraines, it's one of those things where, imagine you have a bucket, right? There might be a word or a theory for this. I've heard it used a few different ways, but I call it like the bucket theory kind of thing. And for me, I have triggers, right? Maybe you have anxiety triggers. I have a trigger where I consume like caffeine, right? And that fills the bucket up a little bit. Maybe I'm exposed to really bright lights. That fills the bucket up a little bit. And then it gets to a certain point where I've been exposed to so many triggers that the bucket overflows, and that's when I get a migraine. And there are certain times where I just need more CBD for that. And that's the days where my daily dosing hasn't worked. I've been exposed to too many triggers, and it just isn't, it's too much for most things to prevent the migraine from happening. Normally, before the CBD, I would immediately get a migraine. Like, my bucket now is bigger so I can take more triggers. My bucket used to be very small where I couldn't take many triggers and it would overflow. Once I started CBD, my bucket got bigger. I can take more triggers. There was a dog crying at my door. Holly. She's crying. 1 second. let me fix doggo. Okay, there's a doggo below me now. So yeah, so it could be something similar to that. How do you mask the awful taste? To be quite honest, I haven't had any that taste awful. Maybe it's like a mind game where I'm like, oh, I know this is gonna work, so I like the flavor suddenly. I hate the smell of the stuff. But, you know, okay, hold on. But you know how things go. It's just, we all have different tastes, so I haven't really had to mask the flavors. But what a lot of people do is maybe they'll mix it with honey. They'll like take their drops, mix it with honey and a spoon and put that under their tongue. But really, if you're putting it under your tongue, you shouldn't taste too much of it. If you are tasting it, maybe you should separate the dose into smaller amounts, so you use a little bit so it doesn't get onto your tongue and then you swallow it and then you do it again. Some people add flavoring oils, like candy flavoring oils, to their actual oil to improve the taste. There's a few different ways. Why does CBD sometimes cause a Herx reaction or detox when you start? It's my understanding that, because I don't believe in detoxes, I'm gonna say that right now, your body does detoxing, like it's its job, like your liver, and your kidneys. So when I think about herxing, what I actually imagine is happening is there are processes in your body, and I'm trying to explain this in a non-hokey way, you know, but sometimes our processes in our bodies are not working properly. Our bodies are not getting rid of, or they're holding on to certain things, and they shouldn't be. And it's not that your kidneys or your livers aren't working, it's just not maybe reaching that point. And the endocannabinoid system is a lot of like a communication system between a lot of these processes. Hello. And so when you start CBD, sometimes it's awakening these processes and things are starting to get back into the way they were supposed to be originally. So maybe you have an initial flush of what your body's been holding on to, that it's finally like able to get rid of properly, that it should have been getting rid of. So it's not really, I don't really think about detoxes in that sense. Maybe I'm saying exactly what a detox is and everybody's like, Sarah, you're dumb. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. But that's the way I've understood it to kind of be. So, yeah. What is your favorite CBD to vape? I really like the Four Corners Cannabis Liquid. It's nice. It's smooth. But what I actually vape is generally concentrates. So I get the slabs or the little powder, and I use a concentrate vape, and I vape those. I like those a lot better than the liquids, I think, because they're more concentrated. I mean, hence the name concentrate. It's very a one hit type of thing. You know, you use it once and it's supposed to last you. You're not supposed to suck on a vape all day. So I like the Phytodab slabs and the CB Distillery terpsolates. Does CBD help acid reflux? I don't know, actually. I've never looked into it for that. We can look. What? There's a lot of Google searches on it. That's my non-scientific searching. I wanted to see if there's any actual research studies on it, because that's what I like to go off of. There is one. But I think it's just cannabis in general. Yeah, synthetic cannabinoids or sativa rich in delta-9 THC. So maybe it's something with THC. When would I know if it's time to change the coil for my pen? Generally taste. If it tastes like it's nasty or burning compared to normal, you want to replace it. Or if it's clogged, you want to replace it. I can always tell by the taste. Does Mydderm help with your migraines? Yes, it does. It was working a while as a preventative. Right now, I haven't been needing to take something like super daily, just in general, which is good for me. It means my stuff is lasting longer. I'm just in a really good bout right now with my migraines, which is unusual. I was daily, you know, chronic, but right now I have had maybe 2 in the last 2 weeks, 1.5 weeks. But yeah, when I would apply it on my temples and my forehead and the back of my neck when I would get an actual migraine. But as a preventative, I would apply it on the back of my neck every single day. Because it's transdermal. Remember, it's transdermal, it's not topical, so it is getting into your bloodstream. For vaping, like I said, I'm a really big fan of the concentrates. What I really like to do is go on Phytodab's website and look at the strain-inspired slabs they have, and you can see what strains are really good for what conditions, and it'll have those terpenes that strain is known for infused in those slabs, and you can vape those, or buy them and dissolve them in a vape liquid, just a regular vape liquid, and use that to vape. And that way you get kind of customized instead of buying like a pre-made vaping product, to something that's really good for, say, your inflammation and brain fog. You know, you look at the terpenes you want, find a strain-inspired slab on their website, on Phytodab's website, and use that. Okay, are we having technical difficulties? Not on my end. Are there any other questions? There we go. What about the not eating grapefruit thing and using CBD? Yeah, it's because of the enzymes, the P450 group, they interact. The CBD generally makes whatever your medication is, if you take them at the same time, it can make the medication last longer in your system than it's normally intended to and at higher concentrations. If you notice an effect, because I do take a medication that has that warning, and I haven't noticed any issues, if you do notice an issue, you can maybe work with your doctor to adjust your dosage. I spoke with a medical marijuana doctor, and he said he's never seen any issues like of people having to stop their medication. It just required like a slight dosage change, just because they of the increase that it can cause. So how do you dissolve the Phytodabs in an equiliquid? So either you can buy the PG, the propylene glycol, or the VG, vegetable glycerin, which is the mix you're going to want, because you cannot do 100% VG. I'm sorry, it just won't dissolve. So you can either buy the two separately and create your own liquid with the ratios you want, and then dissolve it in. And generally, you would want to lightly heat the liquid in a hot water bath and drop the slab in there, and it will dissolve, and then you can like shake it up. So a hot water bath is usually the best method. I do know a lot of people who buy a flavored, just plain e-liquid with the ratio that they want, and they just drop it in there, and then they dissolve it in a hot water bath and do that instead of mixing it themselves. Can you use the sublingual drops on your skin? Yeah, you could. A lot of people do that. It's just going to be topical. You do have CB1 and, you know, endocannabinoid receptors in your skin. It will be a local effect. So, like, let's say I hit my knee and my knee's hurting and I wanted to put some of my drops on it. I could do that. It might help. It'll be local and topical, though, not transdermal. Not the same thing. It won't get into your bloodstream. Sorry, I lost some of this. Could I ask the same questions again? Of course. What about acid reflux, and does Myoderm help with migraines? Okay, so I looked up acid reflux, and I did find studies, but it seems a lot of the focus was on THC. You could search the group. I know everybody hates when I tell them that, but that's like where a lot of... There's not enough studies, I will say this much, because of with the way the laws are. There's not enough studies for my preference. So a lot of this is anecdotal evidence, and that's not the favorite way to get evidence of, you know, how things are working for people, but our group is how we get a lot of, you know, a lot of information, right? So if there's anybody that's had improvement for that, that would be a good way to figure it out. But there are studies I'm seeing for cannabis in general, but it seems like they're focusing on the THC rather than the CBD. Yeah, and see, Diane says it gives her acid reflux. I don't know. It could be the terpenes, maybe. It could be something like that. It just, I don't know. Does Myoderm help with migraines? Yes, it did. I use it now whenever I do randomly get a migraine. I would apply it on my temples and my forehead and back of my neck. And then I would use it preventatively every day on the back of my neck to prevent migraines. There we go. Are you just gonna sit there? Okay. Okay. I think that's all the questions. I keep saying any more. I'm gonna give like 5 more minutes. So any more questions? Can't seem to get past 1 drop of Charlotte's Web Advanced 1 time a day for the last 2 weeks. If I take 1 more drop later in the day, I feel wired and shaky. It was so expensive, I would hate to give up on it. Should I try something less strong? So 1 drop of Charlotte's Web Advanced generally has 2.5 milligrams of CBD in it, if I remember correctly. So you're actually not getting that much. So it's interesting that it would give you that much of an impact. I understand because it's expensive that you'd hate to give up on it. I would be interested if you were to try an isolate product with just CBD. That would possibly give you an indication of whether it's another cannabinoid having the impact, like maybe the THC, because it does have a little bit in there, or if it's a terpene that's causing the problems. If I remember correctly, it was high in beta-caryophyllene, terpinolene, I think, and what else? Eucalyptol and something else. Those were the terpenes I saw. So I would say maybe try isolate because it would be cheap. Isolates are pretty cheap to get a lot. How do you get the taste, right? Some people mix their stuff with like they'll take their bottle and they'll mix in candy flavoring, like the candy oil flavoring. You can find like a crap ton of flavors. Some people do that. I can't comment because I actually don't have an issue with the taste of the stuff I've tried. Some people will take their dose, mix it in a little honey, and then put that under their tongue and absorb it that way to cover the taste. Um, you need to stop with your mouth thing, dog. Let's see. So, let's see. If I remember correctly, for staving off hunger, humulene is really good for that. Humulene as a terpene, and then for cannabinoids, THCV. So humulene, I would say look into humulene. Have you tried koi? I have not tried koi because I don't vape PG based products. I have a heart condition, and PG is one of those things where it can cause palpitations and stuff like that. What's the best pre-filled vape cartridge? My favorite vape cartridge so far has been the Hemptation whole plant cartridge. I used the Granddaddy Purple Terpene one, and it was delicious, and it was super awesome. I also do like the Johnny Apple CBD, but they're much more harsh if you're not careful. They're very potent. Okay, it is an hour and 15 minutes, so I think I'm gonna stop here. I do see the one about CBD for anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Like I said, I can't really give medical advice, but the stuff I would look into is stuff that is high in uplifting terpenes, the limonene terpenes, maybe the pinene, things like that. Terpenes that are known to be more uplifting. Yeah, Johnny Apple is quite harsh if you're not careful. I do it on the lowest on the pen, and it's still almost a little... Stop licking the carpet. It's still a little bit... Stop. It's still a little... It's just... there. You can feel it, kind of. I think it's just the way the distillate... Because they use a distillate. It's why it's kind of like a gel. So it's not PG, you know, it's not like that kind of thing, but... they cram packed some terpenes in there or something. It's just, you can feel it. But they work. Like, the first time I tried the Calm cartridge, I think. It's either Calm or, Bliss. Bliss is the other one, the middle one, right? It's just, like, my migraine was, like, down, like, 3 notches. And I was like, whoa. You know, like, that really worked. So, yeah. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful. As always, this will be on the Facebook page, so you can rewatch it if you want to, and I will upload it to YouTube and add it to the file section. We have a file that has the links for all the past live streams and videos and stuff. So, yeah. Have you heard of brand Jolly Green? I have not. Sorry. If you're ever trying a new brand, get lab tests, because that's the first thing I'll tell you to do, is look at lab tests. And make sure they're real lab tests. Somebody showed lab tests to me the other day that were, like, obviously made with Microsoft Word, you know, and the graphing feature, so be leery of that. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Okay, now it's closing. Bye!